Somewhere out there, right now, a wheel loader older than the moon landing is firing up its diesel, dropping its bucket into a pile of gravel, and going back to work like it's got nothing to prove. No touchscreens, no emission sensors, no software updates, just iron, hydraulics, and pure stubbornness. These machines were built before most of us were born, and they flat out refuse to die. Here are 10 old wheel loaders that just won't quit. Number 1. The Hough Payloader. Before there was a wheel loader, there was a payloader. Back in 1939, an engineer named Frank G. Hough rolled the world's first fully integrated wheel loader out of a plant in Libertyville, Illinois, the Model HS. Until then, loaders were just buckets bolted onto farm tractors. Hough built a machine designed from the ground up to move material, and he did something clever. He mounted the engine in the rear right over the drive wheels, so the motor itself acted as a counterweight every time the bucket dug in. That idea was so good, it never went away. Look at a brand new loader today, and the engine is still in the back for exactly the same reason. But the machine that really earned its place on this list is the Hough Model HA. First built in 1947, it replaced the old mast and trip bucket setup with hydraulic cylinders acting directly on the loader arms, giving the operator real control over the bucket. And here's the kicker, the HA stayed in production, in one form or another, all the way until That's 35 years of a single basic design. Frank Hough also gave the entire industry a word. Payloader became so common that for decades, people called every wheel loader a payloader, no matter who built it, the same way folks say Band-Aid or Kleenex. Hough sold his company to International Harvester in 1952, but stayed on as chief designer, and his fingerprints are on nearly everything that followed. The first four-wheel drive loader, the first hydraulic bucket control, and early experiments with hydrostatic drive. The surviving Hough payloaders out there today are slow, loud, and crude by modern standards. They have no creature comforts and brakes you have to respect. But they start, they dig, and they keep going 80+ years after Hough proved the whole concept could work. Every machine on this list owes something to that little yellow loader from Illinois. Number 2. Caterpillar 966. In December 1959, the very first production Caterpillar wheel loader, the 944, drove off the line at Cat's plant in Aurora, Illinois. After a 7-year development effort, the next year, 1960, Cat added 2 more models, and one of them became a legend, the 960. The original 966 made 140 horsepower and swung a 2.75 cubic yard bucket. More importantly, it carried a design feature Cat's engineers had learned straight from customers. The lift arms and hydraulic cylinders were mounted in front of the operator, not beside them. On rival machines of the era, the side-mounted arms would brush past the operator's elbows with every load. Cat moved them forward, and front-mounted lift arms became a Caterpillar signature for decades. The 9066 line, especially the 9060A with its Cat D333 diesel, built a reputation that's almost hard to believe today. These machines were overbuilt in the way old iron tends to be, thick castings, simple mechanical systems, and parts you could actually get your hands on. Caterpillar has placed more than 100,000 of its medium wheel loaders into customers' hands over the years, and the 9066 has been the heart of that family from the very beginning. What makes the old 966 a machine that won't quit is the same thing that makes any classic Cat hard to kill. Dead simple mechanical drivetrains, a power shift transmission designed to take abuse, and a worldwide parts and dealer network that has never let these machines die for lack of support. You can still find 60-year-old 966s working in quarries, scrapyards, and on farms, many of them on their second or third engine, still earning their keep, and the line never stopped. From the 966A all the way to today's modern 966, it's one of the longest continuously produced names in heavy equipment. When operators argue about the toughest medium loader ever built, the conversation almost always circles back to the 900. It set the standard in 1960, and an awful lot of the machines built since have just been trying to live up to it. Number 3. Caterpillar 9888. If the 966 is the backbone of Cat's medium loaders, the 908 is the granddaddy of the big ones. The first production 908 rolled off the line in 1963, and at the time it was the largest, most powerful wheel loader Caterpillar had ever built. The original 988 used a 6-cylinder Cat D343 diesel making 300 flywheel horsepower, bumped up to 325 by 1968, and it carried a 5 cubic yard bucket that later grew to 6. It was also an articulated frame machine, meaning it bent in the middle to steer, which made a huge heavy loader surprisingly nimble in tight piles. That early 87 A Series 988 stayed in production all the way until 1976, when the 988B took over. Here's what's remarkable. The 988 has been in continuous production for more than 60 years. Cat says the 988 has been the industry leader in its size class since 1963, meaning more customers have chosen it than any rival machine of its size, decade after decade. You don't earn that kind of loyalty by building something fragile. The old 988s went into the hardest work there is: quarries, aggregate pits, mines, and mill yards loading logs. These are environments that chew up lesser machines. Yet the 988 became famous for swallowing that punishment and coming back for more. Operators who ran the early ones, some with quirky fiberglass cabs, will tell you the frames and powertrains were built to survive things that would fold a smaller loader in half. That toughness is exactly why so many vintage 988s are still out there. A big loader represents a big investment, so owners maintain them, rebuild them, and keep them running long past the point where a smaller machine would get scrapped. A well-kept 1970s 98 with a rebuilt engine and fresh hydraulics can still load trucks all day in a quarry, and plenty of them do. The 988 proved that big and durable could live in the same machine. It's a piece of mining and construction history that simply refused to become history. Number 4. Caterpillar 950. There's a phrase that floats around among old-timers when they talk about the original Caterpillar 950. It wears just a little bit better than the average anvil. That's the kind of reputation money can't buy, and the 950 earned it the hard way by outlasting everything around it. Introduced in the mid-1960s as part of Cat's medium wheel loader family, the straight 950, before the later BE and beyond, was a compact, tough, no-nonsense machine. It ran a Cat D330 family diesel, a power-shift transmission, and the same front-mounted lift-arm philosophy that made Cat loaders so operator-friendly. It was small enough to be useful on a wide range of jobs, but built with the same heavy iron mentality as its bigger brothers. Operators who've owned them describe the 950 as close to bulletproof. The engine, the drivetrain, the hydraulics, the core of the machine was designed to take a beating and keep working. That's why so many are still around, doing everything from snow removal to landscaping to material handling on small operations that can't justify a brand new loader. Now, in the spirit of being honest, because these machines aren't perfect, the one weak spot owners point to on the early 950 is the brakes. The original braking systems could be finicky and needed attention, but here's the thing. The rest of the machine was so reliable that owners happily kept up with the brakes just to keep running everything else. When the worst thing people can say about a 60-year-old machine is "watch the brakes," that's a glowing review. The straight 950 ran into the late 1970s before evolving into the 950B and the long line of medium loaders that followed. But the original holds a special place. It's the size of loader a small contractor or farmer could actually afford and actually maintain, which is exactly why thousands of them are still earning a paycheck. The 950 is proof that tough doesn't have to mean huge. Sometimes the machine that won't quit is the modest one parked in the corner of the yard, ready to fire up on a cold morning like it's still night. Number 5. Clark, Michigan 107. Long before Volvo dominated the loader world, the name everybody knew was Michigan. The first Michigan wheel loader appeared in 1954, and the Clark Equipment Company built the brand into one of the giants of the industry. For a stretch of the mid-20th century, Michigan was practically a synonym for wheel loader, the same way payloader belonged to Hough. The machine that put Michigan on the map was the 1785. It showed up in 1954, and it was so capable that Clark adapted it the very next year into the company's first wheel dozer, the Model 180. Basically a 175 fitted with a bulldozer blade to take on Letourneau's machines. That tells you how solid the underlying design was. You don't turn a flimsy loader into a dozer. The 1705 and its later versions, the 1705A, B, and C, were powered by Detroit diesel inline-6 engines. which are themselves the stuff of legend. A Detroit two-stroke diesel has a scream you can hear from across a job site and a reputation for running long past the point of reason. Bolt one into a heavy Michigan frame with a countershaft powershift transmission, and you've got a machine that just keeps grinding. These were big, planted, mechanically simple loaders built in an era when computer wasn't a word anyone used near construction equipment. Everything on a 175 is something you can wrench on, adjust, and repair without plugging in a laptop. That simplicity is exactly why so many survive. Find one in a scrapyard or an old gravel pit, and there's a decent chance that with fresh fluids and a battery, it'll cough, rattle, and fire right up. The Michigan loader business eventually merged into a partnership with Volvo in 1985. The Clark, Michigan name was shortened to just Michigan, and the brand faded away by the early 90s. But the iron lives on. Vintage Michigan 175s still turn up at auctions and on farms, still moving dirt with that unmistakable Detroit diesel howl. When you hear one running, you're listening to a piece of loader history that simply refused to retire. Number 6. Volvo BM LM 218. Today, Volvo is one of the biggest names in construction equipment on the planet, but it all traces back to a Swedish company called Bolender Montel, or BM, which Volvo bought in 4 years later, in 1954. That company built its first wheel loader, the H10, and it included a genuinely revolutionary idea. The H10 was the world's first loader, with a parallel lift arm system and an attachment bracket. In plain English, the bucket stayed level as you raised it, and you could swap attachments. That feature was so smart, it's now standard on practically every loader made. More than 2,400 H10s were built between 1954 and 1962, which proved there was a real market here. That success led to the machine that's often called the true birth of Volvo construction equipment, the BM Volvo LM 218. It shared its engine with the immensely popular BM Volvo 350 tractor, known as the Boxer. But it was clearly an industrial machine, not a farm tractor. In fact, it was the first one Volvo painted yellow to set it apart from the green farm equipment. That yellow paint is still Volvo's loader color today. The LM218 and its relatives built Volvo's reputation for solid, sensible, durable machines. Loaders that shared a lot of bulletproof tractor components and just kept running. By 1970, Volvo took the next big leap with the LM845, moving to articulated steering, a Z-bar linkage, and a far tighter turning circle. From there, the line marched forward into the famous 4300, 4400, and 4600 models, and eventually into the modern L-series loaders you see everywhere now. What makes the old BM Volvo's machines that won't quit is that Scandinavian over-engineering, heavy frames, simple driveline, and components shared with tractors that were themselves famous for reliability. Many of these loaders found their way onto farms and into quarries across Europe and beyond, and a surprising number are still working or lovingly restored. The LM218 wasn't just a good loader, it was the seed that grew into a global empire. And the early machines still have the toughness that started it all. Number 7. John Deere 644. When most people think John Deere, they picture tractors and combines. But Deere has been building serious wheel loaders for over half a century, and one model in particular earned a reputation as a machine that simply will not die. The 644 first appeared around the end of the 1960s as one of Deere's early articulated production loaders, and it landed right in the sweet spot. A mid-sized machine big enough for real production work, but simple enough to maintain in a small shop. Over the decades, it grew through the A, B, C, D, E, and G series, and the name still exists today on Deere's modern 644 P-tier. That's a lineage stretching back more than 50 years. The thing operators love about the older 644s, especially the early A and B models, is their honesty. These are mechanical machines through and through, a rugged articulated frame, a durable Z-bar loader linkage, a dependable powershift drivetrain, and a diesel engine built for torque, not bragging rights. There's very little electronic to fail, which means field repairs and routine service are straightforward compared to modern computer-controlled equipment. That's not marketing talk. It's exactly why these machines are still working decades after they left the factory. A vintage 644 with a sound frame, fresh hydraulic seals, and well-greased articulation joints can keep stockpiling, truck loading, and doing quarry duty long after machines half its age have been parted out. The 644 became a staple in road building, aggregate handling, forestry, and big agricultural operations. It's the kind of loader you'd find on a family farm that's been passed down with the land, or in a contractor's fleet where it's been the reliable backup machine for 30 years. Maintenance is the whole story with these. Keep the articulation pins and bushings greased, stay on top of the hydraulic hoses, and address oil leaks before they become problems. Do that, and a classic 644 will outlast its owner. Deere built the 644 to be repaired, not replaced, and the survivors prove the philosophy worked. It's green, it's mechanically stubborn, and it absolutely refuses to be retired. Number 8. Komatsu. Komatsu is now one of the two biggest construction equipment makers on Earth, locked in a decades-long rivalry with Caterpillar. But the company's wheel loader story has a fascinating twist. It started with a partnership with the very company we opened this video with, Frank G. Hough. In 1965, a joint venture between Komatsu and International Harvester, which owned Hough, began building four-wheel drive loaders in Japan. The first was the JH30B, a 1 cubic meter machine that kept the payloader name Hough had made famous. It was cheaper than its rivals but dug just as well, and it sold like crazy, putting Komatsu on the loader map almost overnight. By 1967, the JH65C introduced articulated steering to the lineup. But the machines that truly earned Komatsu its won't-quit reputation came later. In 1981, the same year the IH partnership ended, Komatsu launched its own WA Series. That family grew to cover everything from compact yard loaders to the colossal WA 1200, which became the world's largest mechanical drive wheel loader with a 20 cubic meter bucket and a weight north of 200 tons. The WA loaders, especially the workhorse mid-size models, became famous worldwide for one simple reason: they run and run and run. Komatsu built them with robust hydrostatic and power shift drivetrains, tough frames, and a focus on easy maintenance and low downtime. There's a reason you see older WA loaders absolutely everywhere, in quarries, ports, recycling yards, and construction sites on every continent. Part of the magic is Komatsu's manufacturing discipline. The company won Japan's prestigious Deming Prize for quality control, and that obsession with reliability shows up in machines that rack up enormous hours with relatively few dramas. A high-hour WA loader from the 80s or 90s, properly maintained, is still considered a smart used buy today, which is the highest compliment you can pay an old machine. From a license-built payloader in 1965 to one of the most respected loader lines in the world, Komatsu took the durable loader idea and engineered it to a fine art. The old WAs aren't just survivors. For a lot of operators, they're the machines you reach for when failure isn't an option. Number 9. Case W26. J.I. Case has been building things since 1842, and the company jumped into integrated wheel loaders in 1958 with the W9, its first four-wheel drive loader, built in the tractor plant in Racine, Wisconsin. The W Series grew fast through the 1960s and 70s, but the machine that really stands out as an old bruiser that won't quit is the mighty W26, introduced in 1968. The W26 was Case's first articulated loader, and the largest wheel loader anybody offered at the time, a genuine 15-ton machine, swinging a 3 cubic yard bucket. Like all the W Series loaders, it had its cab mounted on the front half of the machine, giving the operator a commanding view straight down into the pile. It was a brute, built for serious production work in construction, scrap, and aggregate. Now, here's where we keep it real, because the W26 has earned the right to be talked about honestly. Operators who ran them back in the day will tell you these machines could be abused into submission. Push them too hard, and a W26 was known to twist the yokes right off its drive shaft. Some crews kept a spare drive shaft on hand and a welding jig to fix the broken ones. They also had a quirky setup where the hydraulic oil tank doubled as the air tank for the brakes. Blow a line and you could lose your oil in a hurry. So why is a machine with those quirks on a won't quit list? Because it didn't quit. Crews kept these things running for years, fixing what broke and putting them right back to work. A W26 that twisted a drive shaft on Monday was loading trucks again by Wednesday. That's the definition of a machine that refuses to die. Not that it never breaks, but that it's simple enough to keep fixing forever. Case followed the W26 with the even bigger 4-yard W36 in 1977, and eventually transitioned the whole loader line into the modern 621 and 21 series in 19. But the old front cab W series loaders hold a special place. They were tough, honest, repairable machines from an era when you fixed iron instead of replacing it. Number 10. Allis-Chalmers TL-645. We'll finish with a machine a lot of younger operators have never heard of, from a brand that no longer exists, but one that absolutely deserves a spot on this list, the Allis-Chalmers TL-645. Allis-Chalmers was always a follower in the wheel loader market, trailing pioneers like Hough and Michigan. But when the company finally got it got it really right. After a 5-year testing program, Allis-Chalmers launched the model TL-645 in 1965, and it turned out to be the best loader the company ever built. The TL stood for Tractomotive, the firm whose engineers designed it. That designation was quietly dropped after 1967, but the machine kept earning its reputation. The 645 was a medium loader with a 2.5 cubic yard bucket, up to 3.5 yards depending on material. Powered by an Allis-Chalmers 3500 6-cylinder turbo diesel, making 150 flywheel horsepower, paired with a 2-speed Allison power shift that effectively gave 4 forward and reverse speeds. Its party trick was steering, while Caterpillar, Michigan, and Hough all topped out at 40 degrees of articulation. The 645 could swing a full 45 degrees to either side, making it noticeably more agile than its rivals in tight spots. Here's how you know it was tough. The United States military bought more than 1,000 of them in the mid-1960s and made the 645 its standard medium wheel loader. The Army doesn't hand that job to fragile equipment. The 645 also became the loader you'd see on practically every logging skid site through the 60s and 70s. They were absolutely everywhere. Around 6,200 of these machines were built before the design was finally declared obsolete in 19, making it by far the most successful and numerous loader Allis-Chalmers ever produced. And the durability story has a perfect final chapter. After Fiat absorbed Allis-Chalmers in 19, original parts got hard to find, so owners simply repowered their 645s with Isuzu or Perkins diesels. With a fresh heart under the hood, these loaders racked up enormous hours and gave their owners long years of service. That's the ultimate won't quit story. A machine so good in the bones that people kept transplanting new engines into it just to avoid letting it go. The brand died, the loader didn't. If you've ever run one of these old beasts, or if you think we left your favorite off the list, drop it in the comments. And if you like classic iron that refuses to die, stick around because there's plenty more where this came from.